Grand Slam was a 10-ton earthquake bomb used by the Royal Air Force Bomber Command against German targets towards the end of the Second World War. The earthquake bomb or seismic bomb was a concept that was invented by the British early in World War II. A seismic bomb differs somewhat in concept from traditional bombs, which usually explode at or near the surface and destroy their target directly by explosive force. In contrast, a seismic bomb is dropped from high altitude to attain very high speed as it falls, and upon impact penetrates and explodes deep underground, causing massive craters as well as intense shock waves. In this way, the seismic bomb can affect targets that are too massive to be affected by a conventional bomb, as well as damage or destroy difficult targets such as bridges. Although a direct hit from a light bomb would destroy an unprotected target, it was comparatively easy to armor ground targets with concrete and thus render critical installations such as bunkers essentially bulletproof. The British idea was to drop a large, heavy bomb with a hard armored tip at supersonic speed as fast as an artillery shell, so that it penetrated the ground like a 10-ton bullet being fired straight down. It was then set to explode underground, ideally to the side of or underneath a hardened target. The resulting shock wave from the explosion would then produce force equivalent to that of a 3.6 magnitude earthquake, destroying any nearby structures such as dams and railway bridges. Formal permission to use the bomb was given in March of 1945, and operations began immediately. The first target was Bielefeld. By mid-March of 1945, over 3,000 tons had been dropped on the Bielefeld viaduct in 54 attacks. On the 14th of March, 15 Lancasters of the 617th Squadron, carrying 14 tallboys and a Grand Slam, all fused for 11 seconds delay, tried to destroy the bridge. The weather was clear to the targets, with some cloud around Bielefeld and the haze over the target. At 4:3 p.m. from 3,600 meters, far from ideal height, a Grand Slam fell. After 35 seconds, the bomb hit the ground about 27 meters short and exploded. The pilot of the photographic aircraft which recorded the attack shouted, "You have done it." The effect of the Grand Slam could not be distinguished from the 11 tallboys, but photographic reconnaissance by a Spitfire following the bombers showed that 61 meters of the North Viaduct and 79 meters of the South Viaduct had been demolished. On the 15th of March, in a haze with some cloud over the target, 2 aircraft with Grand Slam fuses for 11 seconds delay and 40 Lancasters carrying tallboys attacked another railway viaduct at Arnsberg. In poor visibility, the crew of the photographic aircraft saw the whole force made one run into sun and one bomb seen to drop. This was the first Grand Slam dropped from 3,900 meters at 5 p.m. The second Grand Slam was brought home after several bomb runs because of the haze. 10 tallboys were also dropped with no effect and no aircraft were lost. On the 19th of March, 19 Lancasters, 6 with Grand Slams and 13 with tallboys, attacked the viaduct again, in fairly cloudy weather at high altitude. The bomb was not to be dropped from under 4,300 meters, but the pilot could not coax the bomber above 3,900 meters. The bomb began its spin and came down on the western span, which disintegrated along with the roof of the buildings nearby. All but one Lancaster of the first wave, whose tallboy hung up, bombed. 2 spans of the bridge, about 30 meters long, and 1 pier had been destroyed. 20 Lancasters carrying Grand Slams and the rest tallboys flew in good weather with little cloud to Bremen to attack a double-tracked railway bridge at Arbergem. The bridge was 180 meters long. The first Grand Slam was dropped from 4,000 meters, landing 27 meters short, and the second fell 180 meters off target to the north due to anti-aircraft fire and aiming problems. The tallboys hit the middle of the bridge, and the ends were blown off their piers. 20 Lancasters, 6 carrying Grand Slam fused with 30 seconds delay and 14 with tallboys, attacked the railway bridge at Nienburg between Bremen and Hanover in conditions ideal for bombing. The Lancasters bombed within 1 minute, dropping 5 Grand Slams and 20 tallboys. 1 Lancaster crew claimed a near miss with a Grand Slam, and another crew claimed a hit. The first bomb hit the bridge and blew it up. It collapsed in the water at the eastern end. There were a further direct hit in the center. Reconnaissance photograph shows that the bridge had been destroyed. Another railway bridge near Bremen was attacked later in the day by 20 Lancasters, 6 carrying Grand Slams and 14 with tallboys. The weather was clear and ideal for bombing, but also good for the Bremen anti-aircraft defenses. The Germans started to generate a smoke screen, but were too late. 2 hits were observed before the smoke screen and wreckage blocked the view. 20 Lancasters, 13 carrying Grand Slams, the remainder carrying tallboys, attacked the Valentine submarine pans in clear visibility. The walls and roof was made of reinforced concrete. The roof was about 4.6 meters thick and was being reinforced to a thickness of 7 meters. It was intended for the assembly of the new Type 21 U-boats. Production was expected to begin in March of 1945, full production to be achieved in August. 2 of the 14 hits on the pans were by Grand Slams and 1 by a tallboy. The Grand Slams penetrated 2.4 meters into the concrete, causing about 1,000 tons of the roof to fall in the bridging down 2 movable cranes. 1 bomb damaged power stations, concrete mixing facilities, and shelters on the north side. No aircraft were lost. 17 Lancasters were dispatched to bomb the U-boat pans in Hamburg, 2 with Grand Slams, the rest with tallboys. Buildings to the north and west were hit, and a reconnaissance photograph showed 7 hits, 4 penetrating the roof. The coastal gun batteries on the islands of Heligoland were attacked on the 19th of April. This was the last attack when the Grand Slam bombs were used. 20 Lancasters attacked with 6 Grand Slams and 14 tallboys. The attack was made in 2 waves against hardly any anti-aircraft fire. Photographic evidence showed 2 hits and several near misses, which added to the damage.